Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And finally, a new PlayStation 5 event has been confirmed. This should be the place where we finally get the elusive price, release date, and some of those games coming to the PlayStation 5 this holiday, so stick around and we will talk about that. Also, we got an Xbox Game Pass update for September that adds a big new feature and some more games, so stay tuned for that as well. Before we get into all that though, let's take a look at some of the other things happening across the industry, starting off with Spelunky 2. So Spelunky 2 will be releasing on the PlayStation 4 on September 15th and on the 29th for PC, but reviews are already going up and it sounds like they may have done it yet again with another excellent game. As of this video, it currently has a 91 overall score on Metacritic, though this can change quite a bit considering there is only a few reviews out so far. Even then though, this is a great start, and it kind of goes in line with the first game. It did get an 87 on the Xbox 360, and it's remembered as one of the best independent games of that generation, and from the sounds of it, the sequel pretty much improved in every possible way. So it does look like Spelunky 2 is going to be another hit, and potentially one of the best independent games of this year, so you might want to check out Spelunky 2 when it releases. Also, NPD sales numbers got posted today, where we get to see the best performing software and hardware for the United States, and there are a few very interesting developments for this month. To nobody's surprise, the Nintendo Switch is the best-selling console for the month of August. But what's cool here is that the Switch actually set a record for the highest August dollar sales for a hardware platform in United States history, beating out the Nintendo Wii's 2008 August numbers. I mean, honestly, I'm not even all that surprised by this point. The Nintendo Switch is selling at a record-breaking pace, and it's insane what they're pulling off this year. I know the whole situation where people have been on lockdown throughout the year has helped them out a bit, but even before all that, the Switch was doing really well. I really think that Nintendo found a winning formula for them. For decades, Nintendo has been running two divisions: their handheld market for consoles like the Game Boy and the DS, and then they had their home console division. Well, now they have somehow put the two together with this brilliant hybrid console, and not only do consumers love the form factor of this hybrid design, but we're also getting the privilege of seeing Nintendo get to solely focus on one platform with all of their games. Games like Animal Crossing New Horizon and Pokemon Sword and Shield heading to this console is a great addition to its expanding library, and fans have been voting with their wallets. The other interesting thing about NPD though was the software, and check this out. The best-selling game for the month of August was a game that's been surrounded by controversy, Madden 21. I believe it was just a week or so ago when Madden 21 was trending on Twitter because of how little effort it seems like EA is putting towards this game. It's also kind of bombing on Metacritic as well with a 63 overall score, which is quite a bit lower than this franchise usually gets. And now you're starting to see why EA hasn't really been improving this franchise more than it does. They really lack any kind of competition, and the Madden franchise is very popular, so fans are pretty much bought in year out. I would like to see Madden do better quality-wise, but when they sell as well as they do, you do have to wonder how much they will be driven to improve. Now, hopefully I'm wrong there, but it is what it is. Either way, it was a pretty good month for video games as a whole, and that's always a good thing. Moving on, the Oculus Quest 2 leaked online as Facebook apparently posted the Quest 2 videos a little early, and this is a massive improvement over its predecessor. In fact, the Quest 2 on paper is pretty mind-blowing. So let's take a look at some of its specs. It will be boasting 6GB of RAM up from the previous 4, also a 4K resolution, or in other words 2K per eye, which is actually higher resolution than the Valve Index. This puts it more in line with the upcoming HP G2 Reverb, but you have to remember that the Quest 2 is a standalone VR headset. What that means is that you can play virtual reality games without being connected to a computer, which is a very big deal. With that said, you can still play PC VR games like Half-Life Alyx by tethering yourself to a capable PC with an Oculus Link cable. This will cost you a little extra, as the cable that they recommend and sell, I believe, is $80. But we're going to talk about the price a little bit more in just a second. The biggest upgrade though is that somehow Oculus managed to get a Snapdragon XR2 processor in this thing, which is absolutely huge. Let me explain. The original Quest was using a Snapdragon 835, and the XR2 has 2 times the performance, 4 times the pixel throughput, 6 times better native resolution per eye, and 11 times better AI performance. Yeah, this is pretty unbelievable, and the icing on the cake is that the Quest 2 is also supposedly smaller, lighter, and more comfortable. That was one of the biggest complaints of the original Quest, so that's great if true. Now back to the price though. This isn't confirmed just yet, but it's rumored to be $300 for the 64GB version and $400 for the 256GB version, and that is a great price for what you're getting here. Now, I know not everybody likes Facebook, myself included. I'm not a fan of Facebook, but I have to say, this is very impressive. My go-to virtual reality headset has been the Oculus Rift S, but the Quest 2 may entice me to replace the Rift S. And if you're looking for a good virtual reality headset, then the Quest 2 might be the way to go. Now, I do have some unfortunate news, and it seems like I'm having to talk about a game delay at least once a week anymore. But the upcoming PlayStation timed exclusive, Kena Bridge of Spirits, is the latest game to get delayed. Kena was originally being planned as a launch title for the PlayStation 5, and it would have also been available for the PlayStation 4, but it's now being held back to Q1 2021. There is no specific date for the time being, but this is just another casualty for 2020 delays, and it truly is very unfortunate. I think this game looks absolutely stunning, and I love the animations in this game, but we're gonna have to wait just a little bit longer to play this one. The good news here though is that PlayStation finally announced that highly anticipated September PlayStation 5 event. Yeah, that's right, mark your calendars for September 16th as it will air at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 4 p.m. Eastern. Now this is the big PlayStation 5 event that we've all been waiting for, as we have been very impatiently waiting for the PlayStation 5 price and the release date. Well, this is the place we're finally going to hear about those things, but that's not all we're going to hear about. This is a 40-minute long event, so it sounds like they have a lot to show, and I do have some ideas as to what. Of course, we should be getting an official reveal of Spider-Man Miles Morales. We still haven't really seen much on that game yet, but I think they're going to show this game here and kind of hype up the solid-state drive and ray tracing with Miles Morales. I keep saying it, but ray tracing is a really big deal heading into next generation, and I expect Miles Morales to be one of the showcases for that technology early on. You're going to see a lot of lights reflecting off the streets and water for this game, and I expect it to be quite the looker. Demon's Souls and Ratchet & Clank might also show up. We don't have a release date for either of those games yet, and all signs are pointing at them to release very early on in the PlayStation 5 lifecycle. No guarantee there, of course, but I'm hoping we do get some release dates for those games. I'm really excited for Demon's Souls myself, and it did get rated in Taiwan recently, so I'm hoping that's a sign it's going to be at this event. There are 2 really big rumors for this event though. Final Fantasy XVI will supposedly be revealed here as a timed PlayStation 5 exclusive, and even though I'm not a fan of timed exclusives per se, I am a big fan of Final Fantasy, so I'm very excited to see that game. Silent Hills also might show up here, and that's rumored to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive as well. So if all that does turn out to be true, this is going to be a really good event. Of course, the price has to be right though. I'm hearing a lot of different things here, and insiders do not seem to be agreeing with the price, which means it's probably going to be a surprise unless something changes over the next 48 hours. I've said this for a long time, and I'm going to stick with it, but I think that PlayStation 5 comes in at $500 and matches the Xbox Series X price. That's just a guess, but Sony will be taking a loss at $500, and from my understanding, the digital version will also be taking a loss at $500, which is why I'm predicting $450 for the digital version. Optical drives are not all that expensive, so I think a $50 difference might be what they do here, though I know some are hoping for a $400 price tag. I mean, it's possible that could happen, considering digital game sales makes more than physical, so they may be willing to take more of a loss on the digital PlayStation 5, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. If they do that though, I'm very curious to see what Xbox does, because something interesting that Xbox did with the price announcement of the Xbox Series is that they specifically said it was ERP, or in other words, estimated retail price. What that means is that technically they still can change the price, and pre-orders don't go up until the 22nd, so depending on what Sony announces here, Microsoft might turn around and change the price of the Xbox Series X. Probably not, but something to keep in mind. Let me know your thoughts though, and give me your predictions in the comments below. Let's talk about Xbox though, because we got some Xbox Game Pass announcements today. They revealed the second half of the September lineup, and big surprise, you get some more great games. Destiny 2 will be heading to Game Pass on the 22nd, which that's a big one. You also have Warhammer Vermintide 2, Night in the Woods, Halo 3 ODST, and Company of Heroes 2. So this has been a pretty solid month overall. Not quite as good as August, but that was a pretty tough act to follow. And I think with games like Destiny and Night in the Woods, you got some really great games here. And of course, earlier this month you got Hot Shot Racing and Tell Me Why. Both of those games were really good games, and if you missed those, you might want to check them out. What's interesting though, is if you pay attention to what platforms each game is available for, you're going to notice they say Android. Well, that's because starting September 15th, Xbox Cloud Streaming will be available on Android, and you can play Xbox Game Pass games on your Android devices. In fact, Minecraft Dungeons will be the first game to offer touch controls, so that's pretty cool. You won't even need a controller for that game, though I would highly recommend one. I myself use the Razer Kishi, which is a fantastic mobile controller, and really it's basically like having an Xbox Switch. I use this thing a lot, and when you pair it with Xbox game streaming, it feels absolutely fantastic. Either way, you gotta love Xbox Game Pass, and when you combine it with cloud streaming to all of these phones, it has a ton of potential, and I'm very curious to see if the mainstream market starts to pick up on this. This is something that Microsoft is going to have to market to make sure the more casual gamers know about this service. And for that matter, I think this has a ton of potential in Japan. Japan loves mobile gaming, and if Xbox plays their cards right, this may be their gateway into Japan. Now that's not just great for Japan though, because that would also mean more Japanese developers would support Xbox. And I know Xbox fans want more Japanese games, so that would be a very big win if they can somehow manage to grow Xbox Game Pass and cloud streaming over in Japan. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.